Hello everyone, in this video, I'll walk you through how I designed a restaurant logo from the client's brief to the final delivery. I received an email from a client. Alex is the owner of Tanglehouse, a high-end seafood restaurant, looking for a refined and minimal logo that quietly reflects the brand's elegance. Once the client reached out, I sent over my logo design questionnaire, a quick way to make sure I understand their goals, audience, and brand personality. Once they filled it in, I compiled everything into a clear, structured brief. This becomes the project's roadmap, so both of us are aligned from the start. With the brief finalized, I prepared a proposal outlining the deliverables and timeline, and once approved, I sent the invoice for the upfront payment. And as you all requested, you'll find links to all of these documents in the description. With that sorted, it was time to dive into the creative direction. With the brief in hand, I started thinking about how to capture Tanglehouse in a single mark. The name already suggests movement, elegance, and something weaving together. Going literal with an octopus felt too obvious, so I focused on translating that tangle into a minimal, abstract form. A monogram with smooth, intertwined curves could reflect that motion while staying refined and versatile, something that feels luxurious and fits perfectly with the brand's high-end atmosphere. Moving to the sketching phase, I began by loosening up with more decorative, flowing letter forms, exploring curves that could subtly hint at the tangled, fluid feel we're after, without locking into anything too rigid. From there, the shape started tightening up into bolder, blockier structures, balancing clean geometry with just enough personality to make them memorable. Then, I experimented with a hybrid approach, keeping the sharp structure for clarity, but softening the edges with curled, elegant endings so the tangle idea came through in a refined way. In the end, I narrowed it down to two strong contenders, one with bold, confident strokes, and another with smooth, sweeping curves for a more graceful presence, ready for refinement. Alright, to begin the vector work, I paste my first sketch into Illustrator. I lower its opacity just a bit, then I go up to Object and lock it so it stays in place. I start with a thin horizontal rectangle right here. Then I hold Alt and drag it over here. While still holding Alt, I shrink it down like this. Now I make a thick vertical rectangle following the sketch closely. I hold Alt and drag it to the right side, then duplicate it again to create the stem of the letter T. I shorten this one so it aligns perfectly with the sketch. Next, I hold Alt and drag this piece downward to cover the rest of the stem. I shorten it just a bit, then I make these two segments slightly longer, still sticking to the proportions from the sketch. To start making the serifs, I switch to the pen tool and trace along the shape like this. Once it's done, I change its color. That helps with visibility and precision. Then I Alt drag it over to the other side, go to Object, Transform, Reflect, and flip it. After that, I align it properly with the shape, and I repeat that same process for the rest of the serifs. I select all the serifs and change their color back to black. Then I select everything together, head over to the Pathfinder panel, and click Unite to merge it all into one shape. Now for the tangled part. I could use the pen tool to trace this, but for these kinds of curves, I actually prefer the brush tool. I don't know, it just feels smoother to me. So with the brush tool, I carefully trace over the sketch. Then I switch the brush definition to basic and increase the stroke size. Still using the brush tool, I Alt drag over the stroke. It helps smooth it out a bit more. I change the color again just to see it better. Then increase the stroke size even more to match the weight I'm going for. Next, I grab the width tool. I click at the tip of the curve and shrink it down. Then I thicken this section here. And this part too, but just a little. To make sure everything aligns, I drop the opacity to see the sketch more clearly. Then I go to Object, then expand appearance. For this negative space here, I use the pen tool to trace the shape, and with Alt held down, I cut through it using the Shape Builder tool. To refine the inner curve, I draw a white circle, stretch it until it fits the space properly, then select it along with the orange shape and cut through it. I use the same method to fix any other imperfections I spot. Once that's done, I switch the color back to black, Alt drag it upward, select it along with the letter H, and using the Shape Builder tool, I Alt-click on the intersecting area to remove it. Then I delete the leftover shape. I shrink the whole thing down to see how it looks at a smaller size. Always a good check. I'm not really liking how the serifs look here, so I remove them entirely and take another look. Yeah, looks better to me now. For the second logo, I'm not going to trace it directly. Instead, I'm going to remake it in a monoline style. I think it fits the project a lot better. I lock the sketch layer so I can use it just for reference. Then, with the pen tool, I start creating the left angled part of the letter T, but I'm using only straight lines for this version. I swap the fill for a stroke and increase the stroke weight. With the direct selection tool, I move this part slightly to the left. Then I select these three corners and drag the widgets to round them out. I Alt-drag the whole thing to the right, then reflect it. Then I Alt-drag this section downward. Using direct selection, I select these two endpoints and press Ctrl+J to join them. While holding Shift, I rotate the shape 90 degrees, align it with the other side, and drag it down. I make a copy to the right, then go to Object, Transform, then Reflect to mirror it again. Using direct selection, I grab these two anchor points and move them upward slightly. Then I draw a horizontal line here, followed by a vertical one to complete the stem of the letter T. I drag it here, shorten it slightly, and finish it off by adding a small horizontal line at the base. I hold Shift and select both lines. Press Ctrl+G to group them. Then I select everything and align it to the center. I drag the two H stems down a bit, stretch them just a little, and then position them back in place. After that, I scale everything up slightly, then use direct selection to nudge this upper part down with the arrow key. I duplicate the whole thing, expand it, then shrink it down to double check the small size rendering. I can see that the base of the T is a little too close to the crossbar of the H, so I nudge it down a bit, and that's it. Looks cleaner now. To find the perfect typeface for Tanglehouse, I started with a simple but crucial step, heading to My Fonts and searching for elegant serif fonts. I knew from the start that the typography needed to reflect the upscale, refined atmosphere of the restaurant, so I began scrolling through dozens of options. After digging around, I narrowed it down to these 5 that really stood out. Each one had something unique to offer. Ringift has that dramatic flair, but it felt a bit too ornate. Astralaga is beautiful and airy, but maybe a little too delicate for the brand's weight. Apparel Bold is bold and fashion-forward, but slightly overpowering. Bodoni Moda is timeless, but it felt too familiar for this project. In the end, Athena Regular struck the perfect balance. It's elegant, modern, and confident, without trying too hard. The clean vertical stress, sharp serifs, and high contrast gave it a strong presence while still feeling graceful. It just worked. So that's the typeface we're going with. Now I bring in both brand marks along with the logo type. They're working well together, but I think this mark still needs few small adjustment. I make it more compact by selecting this part and dragging it downward, then aligning this segment with the letter H. I do the same thing on the other side. I double-click to isolate this group, select the lower part, and drag it down just a touch. I select the curved shape, press Ctrl+C to copy, then Ctrl+B to paste it in the back. Using the eyedropper tool, I give it the background color. I nudge it up with the arrow key, select both the shape and the copy behind it, and with the Shape Builder tool, I hold Alt and remove the intersecting parts, then delete the leftovers. Now, I think the logo feels a bit too vertical. I want it closer to a square format, so I shrink it down from the top. I also shorten the tail, then adjust it so it fits better. Lastly, I tweak this part here so it feels like a smoother continuation of the H form. Now comes the part where the logo has to sell itself. The presentation. Instead of opening a bunch of files and juggling different tools, I went into Kittl to bring everything together in one place. Normally, you'd need separate subscriptions for fonts, stock images, mockups, and textures, but with Kittl, it's all built in. Premium fonts, illustrations, templates, mockups, even tools like a background remover and image vectorizer. No extra logins, no extra cost. The built-in mockup tool let me place the Tanglehouse logo on menus, storefronts, and packaging, instantly showing how it works in the real world. No exporting, no resizing, just a smooth transition from design to mockup. Once I was happy, I dropped the mockups straight into my presentation project in Kittl and arranged everything for the client. Instead of sending PDFs, Kittl let me invite them directly into the project, so they could see the designs in context and leave comments right on the design. What used to take hours is now quick, clear, and way more exciting for the client. If you want to try it yourself, Kittl's free to start. You'll find my link in the description. And if you upgrade, my code ACHRAF.yt gets you 25% off. As you saw, we developed two concepts, but the client chose this option. They loved the logo overall, said it was classy and exactly what they need. But they did mention the monogram looked a little different from the full name and asked if I could make them match better. To match the feeling and balance of the logo type, I'm going to rebuild the monogram using the T and H directly from the same typeface. I duplicate the logo type, delete all the letters except T and H, then right-click and choose Create Outlines. I ungroup them, align them to the center, and slightly move the T upward. Then I right-click and bring it to the front. To replicate the negative space, I trace over the H's crossbar, drag it up and align it, and repeat the process once more. I select everything and, with the Shape Builder tool, remove the intersections. Then I delete all the leftover shapes I don't need. With direct selection, I move the top part of the T down slightly. Then I shrink the top part of the monogram and lower the bottom part a bit too. I ungroup the old logo, grab the tail element, rotate it a bit, shrink it, and position it up here. Then I shorten the H stems and do the same with the T. Now I use the pen tool to thicken this area so it matches the weight of the H stem. I draw a circle, position it to guide the inner curve of the tail, and tweak it so everything looks smooth and clean. Then I do a minus front from the Pathfinder. With the pen tool, I continue thickening this part, close the shape, and then adjust the handles to polish the curves. I cut out a bit of this section to open up the negative space, then keep refining any remaining imperfections. I select the curved shape, press Ctrl+C, then Ctrl+F to paste it in place. I nudge it upward slightly and use the Shape Builder tool to cut through and clean up the intersections. To align everything, I Alt-drag the type to this spot, bring in the mark, align them, and then delete the copy. Originally, the client wanted to use an octopus as the symbol, but dropped the idea because it didn't feel elegant enough. So I decided to integrate that idea into the bottom curve of the logo by turning it into an octopus tentacle. To make it feel like that, I'll add a few suction cups. I start by creating an ellipse, then I Ctrl+C and Ctrl+F to paste it in front. While holding Shift, I scale it down from the side. Then, with the eyedropper tool, I match the color to the background. Next, I stretch the ellipse slightly from the top and adjust it as needed. Then I select the original ellipse, press Ctrl+C and Ctrl+B to paste it behind, scale it up a bit, and give it the same background color. I group all three ellipses, align them with the tentacle, and then I just duplicate and repeat the process to create the rest of the suction cups. And that's how the Tanglehouse logo came to life, from a simple idea to a refined brand mark, ready to represent the restaurant for years to come.